Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mariner of Spirit. I'm Greg, your host, and tonight we've got another very cool show. Before we bring the people out, I want to go ahead and mention a few things that I always mention at the beginning of the show. Number one is I always try to mention the people that I support. Number one is Pottergraphs with Tim Miley and his wife Lauren, who pretty much do events to raise money for animal shelters and that kind of work. And Tim has been doing his events, Pottergraphs, for quite a few years now. And if you get the opportunity to do one of his events, do it, because he always has top-notch speakers and people, and he gets some of the best locations around to have it at. So be sure to look him up. Number two is PKC, Paranormal Kicks Cancer, with Chris Gaskowski and Alex Wilkinson. And they're a couple from down in Florida who do basically the same thing. They raise money for charities, and their charity happens to be cancer research. And they do some amazing haunted houses, and they do a lot of tour type things too. And at the same time, that when they go out on the road, they'll go ahead and raise money. They'll have people that come with them, and they'll go to places like Old South Pittsburgh and places like that up in Old South Pitt, Tennessee. So if you get the opportunity, look them up too, because they're two great people that have been doing this for quite some time. I ran into them quite a few years ago interviewing a good friend of mine that owns Old South Pitt. And it was a pleasure working with them. That's for sure. And the third one, and I'm just going to mention it, it's been curtailed for right now, but that was the Jessica Petrie Foundation. And that was the foundation that was created by Howard Petrie, who is the founder of PUN and Paralanx. And he did it. It was a resource for expecting mothers and families of pregnant women with mental illness, which is pretty disastrous, to say the least. Howard's very sick right now. He just lost his father not too long ago. He's trying to rally, and we're trying to get the show back on tonight at 10:30 or something like that. But I think it's going to start at the beginning of October again. And if you get the opportunity, look it up. And the last thing before I mention the authors is the fact that I want to mention pretty much one of my home groups, and that's the Texas Wraith Hunters. And they're from San Antonio, and they're a great group of people. One of the guys that I work with quite a bit is from up in Madison, and that's Reggie Randall, and we do a lot of ITC together. And Reggie's a great guy, and he does some amazing work. So if you get an opportunity, look them up and see what they got to offer, because Anthony Savalos is the guy that leads the group, and he's the guy that pretty much runs the show. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is the authors, all the authors that I sort of really recommend to everybody. And it would be Bruce Holliday, Tobias Wayland, Adam Benedict, Kathy Kressel. We have Barnaby Jones. We have Sherilyn Cotter. We have Dr. Heatherly Langdon. We have Lynn Monet, Ron Iacovetti, Victoria Munday, Tony Rathman, Natalie Jones, Patty Negri, Sylvia Schultz, Amelia Cotter, Rex Nielsen, David Sloan, Christina Bloom, and we've got Joseph Hallett, and we have D.A. Weissong, who they're unbelievable artists. D.A. Weissong, I think she's got like 50 books out, and she does all the monsters and everything. So she's pretty cool. So look those people up. Most of them are on Amazon, and you can find them there. So without further ado, since I've been talking so much, now my giraffe just fell down. Don't let your giraffe fall down, whatever you do. So without further ado, I have the first two people there with Spire Paranormal, and we have Ed Levin, and we've got Mike Alsop, and then we had you think I'd be able to Graveside Paranormal, we have Neil Gibbons.
Hello.
So all these guys are all exceptional paranormal investigators who have been working in the field for quite some time. I can remember going ahead and walking around and seeing Ed and Mike, but that was at the last Broadhead Manor one. And I think Neil was there too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that's been like a home to me, because that's where I had the opportunity to go with. We were one of the first groups that were in there. And Reggie and I went in there in the middle of the winter time when it was about 28 degrees in the building, and we had the whole building to ourselves. And we had a great time that night. But I'm sure that you guys all have stories to tell and things like that. So without further ado, why don't we start out, and we'll go out with Spire, since it's 2-1, Neil.
Oh,
we'll start.
Geez. I'm here for cookies and milk, man.
I wish I had the milk. I don't have any. I got cookies, but I don't have any milk, man.
Well, Spire has been around for about 2 years now. Broadhead is actually where we got our start. Actually, the team that I was originally on, 3 a.m. Extreme Paranormal, one of the last investigations that I went on when I was still an active member of their team was the Broadhead Manor investigation. And I met Bill, and we became good friends and started talking, and I started hanging out there all the time. But Spire, when we were trying to form up our team, I invited a bunch of people that I worked with and some people I knew from Scouts to come up there and hang out with me, and just with the intention of possibly forming a brand new paranormal team. And Bill, he came up and he's like, "All right, what's the name of your team?" I'm like, "We don't have one." He's like, "All right, come on, you have to have a team name." I said, "I don't know, the Spirit Hunting Investigation Team." And he went, "Oh, so you're shit paranormal?" I went, "Yes, we are." But that eventually became Spire, Society for Paranormal Investigation, Research, and Evidence. And Mike and I were working together at Abbott at the time. And I basically walked up to him one day at work and said, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And we had a conversation for about 2 hours about that. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Well, that's really something. I've met Mike before. I know Mike because Mike worked with my wife. And the first time you tell the story, Mike, since you're on the ball now anyway. So
Well, actually, my wife worked with your wife, and your wife used to cut my hair all the time, which I kind of need a haircut really, really bad. But this is my first team, first team I've ever been on, so I haven't been investigating for too long. But I'm with a great bunch of people, and I've learned a lot, a tremendous amount. And not only have I learned from them, but I've also met so many other people like Neil Gibbons and Larry Eisler and Brittany Bickett and her mom. And I've learned so much from everybody else, Christina Bloom and Kat. I mean, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Mike Schwanke. I mean, it's been an amazing experience the last couple of years, and I'm really hoping that it will continue for a very long time.
Yeah.
So.
Not to throw a monkey in the or a wrench in the monkey or whatever, but when you
Poor
start
monkey.
when you started to talk about that, what was your main experience when you first came in, as far as what really put you over the edge and wanted you to stay around?
Broadhead Manor. I was really excited about doing this. I've had lots of incidents throughout my entire life. The very first one I ever had was um, my family was getting ready to go to a funeral. And my dad, I didn't know what was going on. I was 4 or 5 years old, had no idea what was going on. My dad did not want us to go with, but I remember sitting on the edge of my mom's bed, and um, my grandfather sat down next to me, put his arm around me, and said, "Michael, everything's going to be okay." And then he just faded away, and I did not understand that at that moment. It was about a month or two later that they finally told me that Grandpa passed away. So I had a difficult time with that, but after that, I was having experiences left and right. But at Broadhead Manor, we were in the principal's office. Yes. So we had one of our budding members, Alan Esparza, was doing Estes. Ed was recording and asking questions. Alex was sitting next to me. Alex Clark had the temp meter, and I was doing the voice recording. So I was sitting next to Alan, and I kept getting cold, and I was shaking. I was shaking. And Alex turned the temp meter to me and he said, your temperature just dropped like 2 degrees. And I was shaking so much. I said, forget it. I have to get up. And I stood up, but Alan didn't know I was sitting next to him because we all settled in after he put the blindfold on.
Mhm.
And he yelled, "Michael, sit back down." I'm like, whoa. How did he know that I'm the one next to him when he had no idea where everybody was situated in the room? And I was freezing. So
Yeah.
after I got up, and then I literally said, "I'm done." So I got out of the room.
Yeah. And actually, I remember him moving over by the window in the
Yes.
principal's office, and he's sitting there, and his teeth are chattering in his mouth, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me right
Yep.
now?" He was getting colder and colder
And colder.
and colder, and that's not the first time that principal in there has frozen people out. Actually, on a earlier investigation, I was sitting on the couch in there with a lady sitting next to me with the space between us where a person could sit. My right side got ice cold, and her left side got ice cold.
Yeah, well, that's a great little spot to go into all by yourself and sit down. And
oh yeah,
I could say that.
Yeah,
I know that we're going to go ahead and pass it on to Neil and do the same thing there, and then we'll go back and forth between you guys. So Neil's with Graveside Paranormal, and you've been around the block quite a few times. You're a South Side guy.
Yeah, South Side Chicago. I grew up in a place called Mount Greenwood, Beverly area,
Which was at the time a really, really nice area. There was hardly anybody there.
Yeah, it's still actually a solid neighborhood. I grew up in that area, and I really enjoyed living in that area, growing up in the 70s and 80s. Enjoying, playing the old kick the can and enjoying some of the things that a lot of these kids don't do nowadays. It was a nice neighborhood.
I had a couple of my dad's brothers lived. They were all South Side. So one of the uncles lived in Oak Lawn.
Oh yeah,
and he was an old OSS guy from World War II,
really?
and he had a whole bunch of real wild stories.
Yeah, man. I'm sure he did.
And I have one of his 32s now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, MP.
Oh, really?
Yeah, great gun. Wow. So what do you think for you yourself, Neil? And I know you've been there quite a few times to Broadhead. And if you were going to compare Broadhead to another location, what would be close to Broadhead?
That's a very good question. The reason why is because Broadhead is definitely an intelligent haunting. There is definitely intelligence at that place. When me and Larry, and I think it's the first time I met Ed, was at the Broadhead Manor, and I brought that box that I have, the Anahata box, right?
Yeah.
And I really didn't know what to expect. I went to Broadhead Manor before for one of the conventions when I had a different business partner for Graveside Paranormal, and we did our first. Actually, it was our first time ever vending, and we did I think 4 years ago, and it was at Broadhead Manor.
That was back in the back room, right?
Right. I was all the way in that back room where those pews are.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of nice people, and that's what I love doing. I love going out and just meeting people, and I love just talking like we're talking right now. But so I go there another time with Larry. He goes, Neil, you got to come out. And I said, of course, dude. So we go out, and I met Ed. Mike, I don't know if you were there that day. I don't remember. We brought the Anahata box up on one of the classrooms, and we were asking random questions, and sure enough, we asked, can you fill in the blank? What I do is this is how I check for intelligent haunting, is I say fill in the blanks throughout the Anahata Spirit Portal box. And I forget what part, but we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll stop, and I'll say fill in the blank. So if it was like Pledge Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and then it fills in a blank. And we got exactly the next following word. And I forget. I know Larry did that.
Indivisible.
See, and that's amazing. When you get the indivisible. And I know Larry recorded it, and it's out there. And I forget exactly where we have it. But everybody's like, holy such and such. I can't believe. And everybody was just taken back. That's when you start really, really understanding is, hey, man, we got something intelligent here. Yeah. And I just knew that there was definitely intelligence. And, of course, it is. There are children there. But I also believe that there are adults inside there for whatever reason. And here's the thing is, I truly, me personally, I don't know why it has this intelligent haunting. I know Ed is much more versed in the history. I have somewhat known of the history, but I just never understood why a school, unless something traumatic or dramatic happened in a timeline, why it would be haunted. That's one of the things I've never truly understood. Same thing with like churches and stuff. I never understand why, if you're going into a place that's a positive place, why all of a sudden are you getting a haunting? Until someone clued me in about the church. And I'll be more than happy to talk about church. And it wasn't until we started doing me and Larry started doing the Trinity in Jericho.
Oh, yeah. That's a great place, too.
Yeah. Until somebody said, people are bringing in their negativity, as in they're looking to get salvation. And when they're looking for salvation, they're pushing out all their energy because they're looking for that salvation. They want that forgiveness. And when they're pushing forth all that energy into the environment, that's why you could start getting it. But still, it's still unknown to me why it would happen in a school unless something like a fire, like the fire that happened in Chicago years ago, the Angels, School of Angels.
Our Lady,
Our Lady of
Yes.
Angels.
Yeah.
Lady of Angels, yeah.
I've got kind of a theory about that, actually. Because, I mean, when you think about it, schools, churches, theaters, all these theaters are haunted. The Rialto, the Genesee, all of these type of places. The courthouse in Watsika is haunted. And I think what it is that you've got all of these old buildings that are brick and, they've got limestone and granite and all these materials and the metal and the wood. And that I think that what happens is that people are in these places and they're locations of high emotion. I mean, schools are high emotion. Kids are sad, kids are happy, kids are, whatever. Theater is places of high emotion. And then you've got the people that love these locations and their spirits want to return to these locations. Elizabeth, the little girl spirit at Broadhead, we actually found out that she had passed away as an adult and comes back as a little 8-year-old girl. She loved the building. She absolutely loved the building. I think that's why the janitor is still there, because he loved that building.
So you're saying it's like an intelligent attachment.
Right. We investigated the Egyptian Theater in DeKalb, and there's a vaudeville actress that still hangs around there. They call her the Lady in Green, although our medium said that she's actually wearing a gold gown, not a green gown. And when they were giving the tour, they've got a case that's got a picture of this woman named Ida, and Chrissy's describing what this lady looks like to me, our medium, and I'm like, hold on, come over here. So I bring her over to this glass case that's got this picture of Ida in there, and sure enough, she said, that is the woman I saw. So you've got these old buildings that are made of all these materials. They're on whatever type of property. We know Broadhead is sitting on limestone bedrock. And I believe that they absorb that psychic energy, and people love being there. And I mean, why do people have that live in old homes have the previous owners still live there? Because they love the building, they love the house.
Sure.
People go back to where they love to be in life.
No, I get it. And it sounds logical to me. But it's definitely an intelligent haunting. So if these people are coming back after death because Broadhead Manor was that symbol in their life that made them happy, well, then, a lot of spirits go back to it because they make the choice of not going to the other side.
Yeah, and that's the key word, is happy. They come back when they're their most happiest and most content.
Right.
Elizabeth comes back as an 8-year-old, and there's other people attached to bars, and they might like the place that we did in the city. There's 2 wise guys that was attached to the bars. They were hanging up in the attic, and my theory was that these guys used to work in the upstairs of that old building.
Yeah.
So they were happy doing whatever they did, being bagmen and being the strong arm of whatever they did. That they came back when they were most content and most happiest, even though they weren't doing exactly, the best thing in the world or at the time, but they were very happy doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
So you know what? To get back to Greg's finish his question though, what else places do I think is like that? Is actually what we were just talking about, Jericho. In a sense, the place like Jericho isn't that much different than Broadhead Manor, but Broadhead Manor, other than I think there's more negativity at Jericho. But it's almost like the same type of a haunting where there's definitely intelligence at Jericho. I'm going to tell you, there is something that is going on there. And when me and Larry did the Estes method, and when eventually he comes out with this video, I think people are going to be really, really taken back of the answers, the intelligent answers we were able to get from the questions that were given. It almost kind of reminds me of, do you ever see the movie Nefarious?
Yes.
So I'm sitting there and I'm asking the questions while Larry's wearing this. And it's almost like in that same kind of demeanor. And Larry's answering these questions. And I'm like this.
Wow.
In my head, I'm saying it because I have to keep asking questions because I want to keep that rapport.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Don't want to stop because I want this conversation to get going. But to answer your question, Greg, I would actually say off the top of my head, the closest thing to Broadhead Manor, in a sense, is Jericho.
Yeah.
I know when Ed mentioned the Egyptian theater, when we were there quite a bit ago, and I was with Dale Kazmarek and Ghost Research Society, and we used to do a lot of places, and we were there. I was sort of fixated on the stage because every stage that's around, every theater that's around, when it's a real play where they really have theater, they always have the studio or the stage light, and it's got the one light bulb in it. And that was the first time I had run into that, and it was explained by the gentleman that was pretty much running it that night that the reason that light is there is for spirit to find their way back to the stage after everybody leaves.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They told us that too.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I've got kind of an interesting story about a stage. Place we just recently investigated was the Freeport Freemason Lodge, which is huge, by the way. And this is another place, old building, and it's just teeming with intelligent ghosts. We have a device. We call it it's our Trip 30 or T30 paranormal tripwire. Or we call it the Christmas lights because the ghosts don't like when we call it a tripwire because then they think it's a trap. But so I pulled this thing out when we were investigating on the stage, and as soon as I put this thing out, it started twinkling like Christmas lights. Now, what's supposed to happen with this device when you first set it up is it goes through all the lights go through their cycles, and then it settles on this pink color and until something triggers one of the pucks to flash to green or red or blue or whatever. And from the moment I set this thing out, this thing started twinkling like crazy. Now, I was moving this thing around the stage, trying to figure out, is there a power source or something around here that's making this thing go off? But no matter where I moved it on the stage, it's twinkling like Christmas lights. So I was like, oh, well, maybe the battery's dying, because I remembered somebody telling me that it'll sometimes act like that if the battery's dying. So then I coiled it up, put it away, and didn't think about it. About 2 days ago, I pulled it out of its case, strung it out across my basement here, turned it on. It cycled through, settled on pink, never changed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I think that stage, because of the productions and stuff that they have going on there and whatever, that stage must have so much energy into it that it just kept setting that thing off.
If you think about how things have changed over the years too, back in the day when those particular buildings were big, or they were almost new, and you had people that were actors and that was their livelihood, and they would go around and they would play these different houses, that everybody loved that because that's all they had.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything else. If you go all the way back to when we had what was it, where we went into a slump, a national slump.
Vaudeville?
Oh, the Depression?
Depression.
Oh, I thought you were thinking about entertainment.
No. I was saying that people didn't really have anything.
True.
So everybody was trying to find something.
Mhm.
And, you know, there are places like that they really seem to be gathering at. And the more they gathered, the more there are people that really got to love the places. And that's why
Mhm.
a lot of them ended up there, you know.
Right. Plus, you've got the flip side of, you know, it's not just the positive energy, but it's the places that absorb the negative energy. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all the asylums and, you know, hospitals and, you know, the Watsika courthouse down in the jail there, you know, where Martin, can't think of his last name right now, is
Mara.
Mara. Thank you. Martin Mara is, you know, and you've got all these places that also absorb the negative. And if they died there, you know, obviously they're not sticking around because they loved it there. They're sticking around. Some of them might be sticking around because they feel that they still need to be there because they're being punished. Some of them are afraid of, you know, going into the light because they're afraid of where they might end up. Some of them are there because they feel that they think they're trapped there.
Well, there's also the energy of the event that's still there.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Wasika courthouse, when we were down there, I kept seeing this lady in white, and one of the mediums that came in on the original tour. Somehow we connected, and I saw her. She was in a wedding dress.
Now, was that at
And
the one that we did last year, the seance?
Yeah.
yes,
Last year when you were doing the seance.
yes, and we watched her go down the hall, and she asked me, "Is there another part of the jail?" And I said, "Yes." Diana showed me the other part of the jail. So I opened up the door and I saw her when I opened up the door, and she was choked to death. I literally saw the event in front of me. It made me so angry. I was
Yeah.
so upset. I saw the guy, then he walked to the jail. He leaned up against the jail and acted like he was smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, you son of a. And she told
Yeah.
me that, you know, that's just the residual energy. That's just a scene replaying itself over and over again. You can't do anything about that. It was so strong.
Right.
The
Yeah.
negativity was so strong with that event that it was just repeating itself.
Yeah.
And the last time we were there, I saw it again.
Yeah. The one in July that we did, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that place there. Now I haven't investigated it like you guys have gotten a chance to investigate it, you know, because I've been every time that you guys go do it, I got an event going on at the other house.
Right.
And but when we did go over there in July, Greg, we were down there and they had the cat balls down in the lockup, the old lockup.
Mhm.
And I have to say, man, and because understand, and this is just me saying this, a lot of the technology that's out there, I'm very hesitant in believing a lot of them, some of them. And so but they had these cat balls that were down there in the basement.
Mhm.
And when Ed was asking certain questions, he had one that was up on the cell door or behind the cell door. No, near
Yeah.
where the noose was of this guy who got lynched and hung. So
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
nuke is still down in the basement in a case.
Mhm.
Ed goes and puts who he was talking about, Mira. He put it on top of there, and then he put it on the top of a whip that he brought.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The guy Mira, he killed his son with a whip. So he put it one on where the noose is, where the father got hung with, and then he puts it on a whip, and he's asking questions. I'm asking questions. And these things, and they're in two different places, are going off at the same
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
And I'm like
Well-
this. I go, oh my. I go, wow. That's
Yeah,
And his kids are in the jail with him.
Yeah.
cool.
The one
of
on
his
the whip,
kids.
the one on the whip never stopped flashing. I mean, that
No.
thing flashed constantly. The one on the that we put on the case on the noose, that was only flashing like every once in a while when we asked certain questions. But then also I had what I call my Elliot box, which is a spirit box that Elliot from ACG Paranormal made for me out of an old Bendix 1940s Bendix radio.
Oh,
And so we had that thing going, and he and Martin was talking to us through that thing like crazy, while all this other stuff is going on.
Yeah. And the thing is about the Watsika Museum is that on the top floor, which is the third floor, it's a museum, and they have a whole bunch of uniforms from World War II, the Korean War up there. And anybody who knows is that there's so much memory that's still left inside that material, that not only do you have something that is possibly intelligent that is caught there in the basement, which these two men discovered. So we got to give props to these two guys. But there's also more than likely a residual thing going on from all these museum things that are inside the museum, all these archives of things from wars, things from the community, plows. You know, how much energy went into that stuff, you know, the blood, sweat, and the tears with these plows.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, one of the interesting things are, and I don't think we told you about this, Neil. Diane let us into their vault.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that room where we were, when you guys first came in, we were in that room around the table?
Yes.
There was a vault door there. She opened up the vault and let us walk into that door. And this is where they store all the artifacts that they don't have out on display. And, you know, there's like all kinds of clothes and stuff. I mean, there's just tons of stuff in there, all kinds of old documents and whatever. And let me tell you, walking into this room, the air was so heavy and everything. It was like walking into pudding. And the farther you walked into this room,
the heavier it got.
So
hard to breathe. Very
right.
It was.
So when we were doing the Estes session and we took the T30 and put it around the table, it was kind of flashing a little bit at first. I opened up that vault door and it was like all of a sudden Mike was using the Phasma box, which is the same thing that Larry uses. All of a sudden, he just started getting all these crazy voices coming out at him, and the things just started flashing like crazy.
Yeah.
It was literally going around in a circle. It's like they were just circling us at the table, just going around in one big circle.
And the thing is that this place here has never been investigated before. And we almost just basically took a shot in the dark because it's a museum and was an old courthouse. And the beauty of this courthouse, Greg, it's unbelievable.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It looks like something like out of the movie, the original 12 Angry Men.
Okay.
You know, it's an amazing courthouse. And they have it pretty much intact of the way it looked back in the day. And I said, let's investigate this. And I brought Ed and Mike out there and this and that. And sure enough, because I had a feeling of some of the stories that were going on when we were talking about Mr. Mira, that there's a good possibility. And that's one of the things that we're doing. We're giving people a chance for the first time ever to do this Double Dead tour.
Yeah.
Where they're going to be able to go out there for the first time and be one of the first ones to really ever investigate this place. And it's the first time you'll be able to do it. And what we do is we're doing a thing, Greg, where it's a Double Dead, where you're going to be able to do the original Roth House, that's known as the Watsika Wonder. Right. Yeah. And within like 4 or 5 hours, they're going to rotate and take a group to the museum and vice versa every 4 hours. So you're getting two places at once. So
that's a great idea. That's what we used to do out in Rockford at I'm trying to think of it again. We were in Rockford at the museum, and where they would hold their paranormal conference.
Yeah,
as the like the big VFW maybe, but it's a big giant brick building, and the whole downstairs is the same way. Yeah. From one side to the other, it's all the uniforms and all the weapons, and then they have another room. But the other place is the place that's right on the creek off the river, and it's why can't I think of the name of it? It's I'll remember it. I'll come up with a little bit, but. We spent a lot of time in Rockford. We've been around in Rockford quite a few years. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say recently, I told Ed, and I'm sure he told Mike, is that I got a phone call, or actually originally an email from a relative of Larancy Venom. That's a girl that was possessed, part of the Roth House. So her great-great-granddaughter sent me an email saying that she wanted to be part of this event, the Double Dead Tour. And she's coming out there. She lives in New Orleans. And she's coming out there with a group of her friends. And for the first time, she's never been to Watsika before, but she knew the story of her great-great-granddaughter. And I had to tell Ed, and I'm sure he already told you, right, Mike?
Oh yeah.
Yes, he did.
And I just
Yes, he
find
did.
it so interesting. And I actually told John Whitman, he's the owner of the house, of the Roth House, and he's like excited. I think this is just amazing that you guys are going to be able to have her there.
Oh yeah.
You guys are going to investigate. That's amazing.
Yeah. And we're going to be out there, you know, like Neil said, from 7:00 in the evening until 1 a.m. in the morning. We're gonna basically what our plan is we're gonna bring all of our gear out there and set it all up, and we'll give the tour around the Roth House when people first get to the Roth House. We'll do the quick tour around the courthouse to kind of give everybody an idea of what the courthouse is, explain some of the hot spots and whatnot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let them loose. Grab what you want out of the case, go and investigate.
Yeah.
If they bring their own stuff, great. If they don't have their own stuff, they want to use our stuff, fantastic. And we're going to give them the opportunity. And basically what we're going to do is we're just kind of be out there as sort of, if you have any questions or whatnot, but they are in charge of their own investigation. We're going to be floating around, making sure that, that they're not touching stuff they're not supposed to be touching and stuff like that. But, for the most part, this is the opportunity for these people, they buy their tickets and whatever. This is the opportunity for them to investigate these two locations
one night
and be a part of Spire.
Yep.
For the night.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say before is Tinker Swiss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And we for probably 4 years in a row, we actually took turns between us and another group, and we covered the whole entire area there. And as far as the cottage was concerned, there was a old barn that's their main greeting room now, where they do the tours out of it or everything, and they would sell tickets, and then they would come around just like you guys said, and you would go to different parts.
Mm-hmm.
There would be 5 people or whatever, and they would go there, and then they would go ahead and go to another location when their time was up. And
Yeah.
Tinker Swiss, and it's the Rockford. I couldn't find the other one, but it's the old American Legion or the VFW or whatever it is, but it's a giant brick. It's this huge building downtown Rockford.
Mm-hmm.
And there's places there that don't have the care, don't have the people. That whole area there seems to have been bypassed.
Yeah.
As far as history is concerned, and all the people and the situations have been long gone.
Yeah.
But Tinker Swiss is someplace that, if you guys were interested in, I would definitely look that place up.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list for sure.
I don't know how many times we've been there, but we had a blast.
Yeah.
We used to. The equipment. They changed the regime, and it's run by Kathy Kressel. I don't know if you know who that name of that lady is, but
I think I've met her.
Yes, and she's from the library, and she would sort of conduct or run these events, and it was really, really great as far as the investigation end of it was concerned, because they have 2 more old mansions that are right on the river there, on the Rock River, that are down from each other, that are unbelievable. There was one giant house that there was I don't remember his name, but we went in and everything was all done, all the woodworking, everything inside was all this elaborate woodworking. And the reason it was like that was because he was the man that created the machine for going ahead and starting to work wood in the different shapes and everything. So, I can't remember his name, but Tinker Swiss, old man Tinker, I saw him one time. And then I saw a spirit, and there were two people. He got his leg, his foot crushed underneath the train on the other side of the bridge, because there was a bridge, and that was all sandstone that Tinker Swiss is built on too. So he got his foot crushed, so he couldn't even go upstairs in his house. And if you see this house, it's just unbelievable the way it was created, and everything's the same way it was back in the day. All the silverware, all the plates, everything, all the tables are set up just the same way.
I love stuff like that. When you go into something, it's just like a throwback, and you're going into a time machine. I love stuff.
And if you need to get a hold of, it's almost the time. Usually October, going in middle of October maybe, is when when they have their events out there. So if you look them up, it's just something worthwhile. And I'm talking too much. You guys are on here, so well, I some locations are worth going ahead and talking about, but you guys have been to plenty of locations, so I mean,
yeah. Well, and it's like anything else. All of us, as I like to say, all of us ghost nerds, we get very passionate about the places that we've been and the places that we love. And I mean, I'm still really good friends with Gene Walters, who's the team lead from the original team that I was on, 3AM Extreme, and he gives me crap all the time about how often I'm at Broadhead. Like he's like, have they put you on the payroll yet? Because I absolutely love it. That's we call that our paranormal home. But the Watsika Courthouse is become one of our favorite places to go now, for sure. The Freeport Freemason Lodge is another one. So I mean it's cool. That you're talking about Tinker. And like I said, Tinker Swiss has been on my bucket list forever.
How far is the Oddfellows Club from that?
Oh, in Watsika?
Isn't there an Oddfellows Club right in that area there?
So there was an Oddfellow, yes. So because I researched it,
I've been in there,
and it was on the main street.
Yes.
It was on the corner of the main street. The reason why I found this out is because I was walking around the whole town, looking at certain things, looking for symbols on buildings and stuff like that, to identify what they originally were. And the writing is still on the glass wall of the Oddfellows. And I told my buddy Steve, who was with me, I said, dude, we got to look into this. And because my buddy was big about all those groups, like the Oddfellows. He liked researching them. He was more versed in it than I am. But I was versed in looking for symbols because I enjoy doing it. I've been doing it ever since God knows when, at the buildings in Chicago. And yes, the Oddfellows were in Watsika. Yes.
And
now I'm curious. What is the Oddfellows?
So
this. Wait till he gives you this part. If he gives it to you. If Neil gives you the good part,
I think we're talking to him.
Oh yeah,
it's going to drop you dead.
So the Oddfellows were a group, just like like Knights of Columbus or something like that. Okay.
Okay.
They're a group just like that. Actually, what they did, and understand, I'm not very well versed at this, but they were also part of spiritualism. Okay. And the whole community was based upon spiritualism. And Asa Roth, he actually built that house after the death of Mary Roth, his daughter. She didn't live there, but it was built off the idea of spiritualism. And when you go there, they did the seances on the main floor in that dining room area.
Yeah.
Where John keeps the big dining room table.
Oh yeah.
That's where they did the seances. But actually, the Oddfellows were big about their charity as well. It's not like there was some demon or demonic, or it is almost like I know I'm not even going to use the word. I'm not going to use the word cult-like, because I choose not to. But they were a group of people who did also do. They did a lot of good community work, and they were out there and they tried to help out the community, but they were based off of spiritualism. When you go into the community, when I first started going into the community, man, there's something odd about the community. I love the community. I love the people.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh
But
heck yeah.
Feel like I started getting, when people started knowing that I came there, and they came to my first thing I ever did, which was called Parapalooza some years ago. I started getting phone calls from people saying, my house is haunted, and they're sending me pictures of little kids in windows and this and that on their grounds. I get a phone call of a lady telling me that at her house, we went to her house, me and Steve, and she had something really weird going on with some man that was inside the house. That land there. Now, here's the thing is, when I go to a lot of these places, I actually check the elements, as in the ground, of what is really inside. What are some of the environmental elements that are there? Could they be causing a haunting? Now, here's the thing is, a lot of the community is based off of sand. All right. And because I researched it, like some people have called me and said, hey, what do you think is going on in this place? I said, well, let me do some research on it. So I go and I check the elements. I check the environment to see what it's made out of. But this area here was actually made of a lot of sand. They do have a lot of creeks that go through in and out of Watsika. But I don't know I don't know if they have ley lines, because it doesn't make sense. Because it's sand.
Don't they have underground cricks too?
No, they do have. I don't know if they have underground ones, but they also though have cemeteries dating back to the Civil War that are there.
Yeah.
But to get back to the Oddfellow thing, there was Oddfellows inside that place, and I know that and this is what pisses me off sometimes. Okay, there's been a lot of people that have gone to the Roth House and they have mischaracterized the community. They have mischaracterized the Roth House into almost something that's evil. Okay. Yeah. And that really, really ticks me off, because your community is built off of the memories of what you are now. Would you agree? Right. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good people who live in Watsika, excellent people, and I love them all. And some of these people that have gone out there, and some of these shows that have gone out there and rented the house from John, they have given the wrong opinion of what's going on inside that house.
Close-minded individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is though, it's not just what's odd about the house at the Roth House is it's gone through 3 or 4 different, very distinct, strong timelines. The original one, the Watsika Wonder story of the possession, okay, which I actually call a spiritual miracle. It's called Walk-In. But the next person who owned it was a guy by the name of Judge Raymond. Judge Raymond owned the house, and he wasn't a good guy. He was not that great of a guy. There's a fact. I'm not going to bull crap about it. His daughter, who was actually his stepdaughter, Catherine Clifton, was a very strong woman. She was she knew how to fly an airplane. She was in charge of farms and this and that and that thing. That's going to leave a big impression on the land, that energy that's going out and everything. Mm-hmm. So, me, Diet, and Larry, we actually investigated the house. I've investigated the house many times, actually. But we're going back there again because this is a continuing story. Like, we're going to have the movie out, The Seance, on the 12th of October in Watsika. But it's not the end of what we're doing. This is only a part of what we're doing. And that place there, I love the community. Like I said, I'll leave it at that. I won't talk so much more about stuff, but at that place there about Oddfellows, that's true. That's true. Okay. But now, people mischaracterize good people into being bad people, and that really pisses me off.
Yeah, I think that right now there seems to be a trend of what I call the TikTok investigators out there now, where you've got all, they're young people. Some of them are older people like us, whatever. But you've got all these people that are on, like, oh, we need to get the likes and the followers on our TikTok channel or on our YouTube channel. So they go out and they try to almost do like the Ghost Adventures type thing, where they're running around. Oh, it's it's evil, it's demons, it's whatever, and I'm getting possessed and blah blah blah. It's like, come on, cut the bullshit, guys.
So there was recently a group of guys. I never seen them before, and they rented the house because John will rent out the house to investigators, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess these guys have an excellent following, and I forget their names, but they're lying. That's the thing is, these guys are lying. They couldn't even get in the commercial that they were putting out to introduce the thing. They call it the Rough House, RUFF house. They say there's a witch that's down in the basement. And I'm like this. I go, what the hell are these guys talking about? Do you know the story? And then they say that there was an exorcism. There was no exorcism that was done in that home. If you read the story, you would know what happened after the 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're going to go out there, and don't get me wrong, these guys have a great following. They guys, they're making money hand over fist. And I don't blame anybody for that. I love making money myself.
Yeah.
But the thing is when you're lying to people and you're bull crap.
Right.
They're going to think that they're going into a house where, oh my God, we're going to get this witch that's down in the basement, like out of The Conjuring or something.
Yeah,
that's enough to drive anybody crazy. And
that takes me off.
Forewarning people is a very good thing to do.
Yeah.
By the way, just so you know, Neil, because none of us are here to condone any of that.
Nope.
That's not how I go. And that's not how you guys go either. So,
right.
But as long as we're at this point, I'm going to run through a few questions of friends of mine from Bigfoot and the Bunny. I don't know if you know Chris Carr and Kristen Johnson from up in Connecticut or Rhode Island. They came on YouTube, and they asked a question that says, a question for each person on the panel. What is your favorite paranormal tool or device that you always bring with you?
Ed, you want to take the first one?
Sure. Well, I would say
everything.
Yeah, everything. Honestly, my favorite paranormal tool is our medium, Chrissy, because she's awesome. But I can't. But she'll get mad at me if I call her a tool. So probably my trusty dowsing rods.
Mm-hmm.
They besides being a way for the spirits to be able to communicate, crossing them, uncrossing them for yes, no answers and stuff like that too. For whatever reason, when I hold these things in my hand, it's like they're antennas, and I'm not a medium, I'm not a psychic, I'm not anything like that. But for whatever reason, when I'm holding these things, it's like I get images coming into my head, and and that's what I use to ask the questions that I'm asking. The yes and no questions I'm asking to get answers for, and I absolutely, I love using the things.
Right.
Have you ever had any really extraordinary situations happen with dowsing rods?
Actually, yes. At the Courthouse Museum in Watseka, we were down in the basement. We were down at the far end where the medical room is. They've got a room set up there with information about all the doctors and dentists, and there's exam tables and stuff like that. And I'm part Native American. I'm Cherokee and Choctaw, and I had an Indian lady come through. We called her the Indian Princess because she was the chief's daughter, and she was down there and she was trying to communicate with me and explain to me what happened to her family. And Chrissy, the medium that was down there, not our Chrissy, but a different Chrissy, was the medium down there. She was kind of following along with me as I'm doing this. And what the conclusion that I got, what she wanted me to know was that her and her entire family were murdered by white settlers, and they were burned to death. And I got so emotional that I burst into tears and had to actually excuse myself from the building and leave the building.
Wow.
You know, we're in a real mixed bag as far as all the things that we have our hands in.
Yeah.
And you know, Broadhead is no different with the burial mounds behind the school. And I don't know how far you've got into that, but you know, when they put the railroad through back there, they actually went ahead and they destroyed one whole mound.
Yeah.
So a lot of the elementals and things like that they came into the building because of that. So I mean, you know, it's a hard thing to imagine that we have to be in the same situation because, you know, Rez is a good close friend of mine.
Right.
And he's like my brother. And I just feel so close to him because of the shaman end of it. And the fact that, you know, back then, remember Christopher Sutton? Way back in the day, Christopher Sutton was a shaman. And this goes back, I don't know how many years ago, but he died. And the last event he was at, we were both speaking at, and it was down at Robin Terry's Haunted Art Theater. And he used to have a yearly event, first thing in the beginning of the year. And everybody, you'd buy your tickets right there before you left for the next year. And he'd have all these, you know, 4 or 5 great speakers, and he did a great job. But Christopher showed up on the last one, and because of COVID, we had to keep the groups down smaller. So we had to go from one building to the next down there. And what happened was we talked a lot. And it was like we had been brothers for years. And at the end, I went ahead and I looked at him, and I'm walking out because everybody's getting in the car. And I turned around and I looked at him. I says, Chris, we never got a picture. And he gives me this big smile and he points at me and he says, don't worry, you'll get one. Like that. And I just thought, what does that mean? Not even understanding that he already knew that he had stage 4. He had maybe 3 weeks to live. That never gave a hint to anybody that he was on the out. And, you know, when I brought up Rez, it's the same. Well, Rez is one of my shaman. So is Brandon Cooper. But, you know, it's things like that you remember. It's things like that you carry through life. And it's the same situations that happen to all these people in all these places that we've mentioned tonight, especially the theaters, because those people, that was their lifeblood.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that's you know, the more theaters you go to and around, especially in Indiana, and you get down there and that area down there, there's a couple of them in there that'll just drive you crazy. You know, but that's what it's about, you know, and I love it to death. You know, Neil's he's got the inside track because he's on the south side.
Yeah.
And there's so many things down there that are untouched.
Oh yeah, man. You know, like you got all these things there, all these woods that are around this whole area of the south side there.
Well, you bring up Bachelor Grove. Bring it up.
So Bachelor's Grove, that's a very real place. I explained to people, we actually did a video out there. And you know, when I do my presentations at the places, I show you a full video of where I started noticing that all the replies on our Anahata box are in reverse. And I reversed the reverse on the Audacity program, and you start getting these full answers. When I say full, I mean like we would get things like where it says Angel Michael, I had his training full. and it's an amazing video. That place there's a form of possession that's going on in those grounds. It's not like a human host possession. It's the land, and it goes through all the 3 stages, actually 4 stages of possession. And it's because of back in the 1950s and 60s, people started noticing blue orbs of light bouncing around in the cemetery area. And with that happening, you're going to get normal interest, and then you're going to get people who have cult-like activity. When they come in, they try to play with things thinking that they're going to get, some special granted power from something, but they don't know what the hell they're doing. And not that I do, but the thing is, they don't even know how to close it. But it's because the intent of those individuals that are doing these things, you're going to get what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the land is people are getting attachments from the land, because it's a form of possession that's going on. You keep disrupting a land that already has supernatural activity in it, and you're throwing in that negative mix, you're going to get what you want. You're going to get it.
If you guys haven't been down there to Bachelor's Grove, you got to go.
We actually went down there. Mike wasn't able to come down with us that day, but a bunch of us went down there on a Sunday afternoon, and I was amazed by just how quiet the cemetery actually was. Like, it was just, it was like walking into a park. It was very chill. And we did notice that there was some Druid hieroglyphics somebody wrote on one of the fence posts, and I actually looked them up, and they were a protection spell. And we got some communication in there. And actually, what it seemed like one of the entities that was trying to communicate with us was telling us that they were outside of the fence. And from what I understand, that there's actually more activity outside of the cemetery than actually in the cemetery.
It's not
back in the woods.
Yeah, it's not the cemetery.
Woods,
yeah, it's not the cemetery that's haunted. It's the land that surrounds it that's
Right.
haunted.
And at the time, there was a lot of mosquitoes around, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going traipsing through these.
I don't blame you, man. There are a lot of mosquitoes in that place. I went in there once, man, with shorts on. I said, I'm going home, man.
Oh,
I particularly don't like going there. I actually do one of my thing called the Nightlife Tour, which is a 4 or 5 hour tour that I do for people throughout October. I take them to the front end and then the back end of Bachelor's Grove. I tell you all the stories, so you understand what's really going on at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. Because you can't go in there at night; it's against the law.
Yeah, we are actually planning on going back there, maybe in October or November, when it's a little bit cooler and the mosquito population is down, and hopefully Michael will be able to join us for that one.
I'm hoping
it'll be worth it.
One of the funny things is when we pulled into the parking lot of the Forest Preserve across the street from it, where you're supposed to park.
Yeah,
there was a black Suburban parked there, and the license plate said Lucifer.
I believe it.
Oh, I know that one. I know that.
Okay.
Was that you, Greg?
So, dude, there's a lot. I'm going to tell you something. You go into that cemetery any time of the day, majority of the time, you're going to meet a lot of freaking weirdos. That is just a fact, man. I've met so many weird people, and there's a lot of homeless that live inside those woods. People get assaulted all the time.
Yes.
And so be very wary. There's people who walk around and tell you that they're tour guides or they're the caretaker of the cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
And they try to tell you stories so they can generate some cash in their pockets.
No, there's a few people that really lay claim to it. But, Dale Kazmarek has been, it was GRS that took the picture of the Madonna.
The Madonna 1996. That was
so,
taken.
and she's still one of the members.
Yeah, and, now I watched Dale Kazmarek's documentary, and I told him I really enjoyed his documentary that he did some years ago about it. The reason why is he got into the complete history of the place, which I appreciated.
He when we were there, one of the guys that was in the group, his name is Chuck Williams. And Chuck Williams is now basically not only an investigator, but he's a documentarian.
Mm.
He's on his right now. He just completed his 5th documentary. The
Mhm.
first one was done at Bachelor's Grove, and he had all the permits and everything, and we were there at night.
Right.
And we were the second group in there after Ghost Adventures.
Oh, neat.
And
Wow.
and we did the stages. We staged the whole thing. We did a practice run to see where the hot spots were, and then we had everything mapped out. And then we went back in the dark and did it. And we had 3 camera crews with us,
Nice.
and it was unbelievable. And then it got screwed up because one of those guys that you mentioned that happened to be a local was back in the woods. You know where the pond is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, beyond the pond, he was underneath the branches, and one of the girls had one of those the heat signature thermal camera. Had the thermal, and she was going like this, and all of a sudden she picks up this heat signature, and everybody stops. You know, we're all doing some EVP work, and we all stop, and it was like. And then we find out it's this guy, and that was the end of the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Your
but
tour guide.
they did a reenactment of the girl actually sitting on the stone in the white dress.
Oh, man,
And
that's routine.
Oh.
Routine.
It was
People do that all the time. Oh,
unbelievable.
So actually, just really quick, and I know we're kind of short for time, but I really believe who that is. It might be a lady by the name of Amelia Patrick Humphreys. She was the wife of the founder of Orland Park, John Humphreys. They had a child by the name of Libby, and it's underneath underneath the tombstone Patrick, and she died at a very early age. And it's actually one of the first tombstones when you first walk in past the gates, right on your right hand side. It says Patrick on it. And I believe that that's who people are thinking that is the Madonna of Bachelor's Grove is Amelia Patrick Humphreys.
It's really a cool story, and I know he's done so many more. And the last one that we just completed was the one on the Lady of the Dunes, Diana of the Dunes, it's called, and it was that she back in the 20s, 30s. She was this big woman and.
Yeah,
big business in Chicago, and
I've heard this story.
We did the whole thing, and she left Chicago, just walked out, left everything behind, and went over to the Indiana Dunes and built herself a shack, and she would live in it. And she lived in it for I don't know how many years, but we investigated the heck out of all that. And that was the last one. Circus train crash, the big one of 1917, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that's another one. He's done some fantastic work, and I've had the pleasure. He asked me to help him, and I was
Showman's
one of
Rest.
Showman's Rest over by Brookfield Zoo across the street.
Yeah, it's
And
not that far from here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's we were there. We were investigating that too when we did that whole
Yeah,
investigation.
We've done tours at Showman's Rest. I've taken people to Showman's Rest before.
The train crash was in Gary, right, and we have the exact location where it happened, and we were out there in a monsoon filming all this stuff in the middle. It happened like 2:30 in the morning, and they had a train come through with a bell, and the train was going real slow, and it was ringing the bell. And it was like on the 100th year anniversary, 98. No, it was 100 and some odd years.
Yeah,
but it was the anniversary, so it was a big occasion in Gary because there's nothing left in Gary.
True.
But if anybody has anything else to mention before we start to close, I just wanted to go through some of these people and just mention them. We had Minnesota Association of Paranormal Study was here. Joanna Stewart, Barbara Spear, Bigfoot and Bunny were over on YouTube, so they've been hooting and hollering and throwing things in here left and right. But it's great having people like that around. I mean, they've been very close to me, both Chris and Kristen, and we used to do a lot of shows together. And I never had the opportunity to get up there and investigate with them, but I've had people on the show that have done a lot of work with them, and they're great people. So, you have to mention, Neil, as long as you were talking about your box, and I know you had me how many years? 4 years ago, and you explained your box, your big one. I have a portal.
Right. It's called the Anahata Spirit Portal box. It's based off the chakra system. Steve Lineweber created it. He actually created it. He dreamt about it, and then he created it, and he created it for me. And what the thing is, how I explain about spirit boxes is that spirit boxes, anybody can buy one or make one or this and that, but it's about the team putting in a little piece of themselves in each and every one of them. That's how you start making contact with certain things. We actually had a lady in, where was it? In this one area where she held a conversation with her dead mother-in-law. And I'm saying a conversation. It's an amazing video.
You have to have the intention. You have to set the intention. You have to set the box up for that. And that's why we do that show on Wednesdays, and we do double Estes sessions.
Yeah.
And we do 30-minute sessions, and some of the bantering that goes back and forth and people are all over the country. They're all the way from up in the East Coast and go all the way down into Texas.
Wow.
So, they're not next door to each other, and that's why I've been doing so much on that end of it, because I really love that type of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and there's something more to it, Yeah,
when you start knowing that you're against intelligent answers to these intelligent questions, and something weird is going on, man. Something very weird.
You've been blessed. You've been blessed.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I know I'm blessed. I believe in the Lord and this and that, and I believe in strong energy. I know that I'm a blessed individual.
I watched some of your work, and I would say yes, that when you start to really work on boxes, you have to put your time into it. The reason I got into them was it was taking me on a different path from where my mediumship was, as far as going ahead and giving me the opportunity to actually communicate with my spirit. Mm-hmm. Spirits or my guides.
Right. I get it.
And that's where I was at. And we just keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Waiting for somebody to really knock on the door,
Well, one day somebody will come knocking on everybody's door.
Well,
ain't that the truth?
So you guys, it's been a fantastic show. I want to thank you guys all for being here. Ed, Mike, Neil,
Thank you.
and
Thank
Spire,
you for having us.
and we've got Neil from Graveside Paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
I got it right this time, Neil.
Yeah, it's all good.
Everything's great. So you guys, it's great having you, and I look forward to having you guys back on again.
Sounds good.
Well, thanks, Greg.
We could run another 20, 25 minutes with no problem at all, I'm sure.
A couple hours with all the stories we have.
All
right. So buy your tickets for the Double Dead Tour.
Yes.
Halloween night.
Yes.
Halloween night.
Watsika Courthouse Museum and the Roth House. It's going to be amazing.
Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors. Put away the cats.
Tell people you don't even like.
Yep.
And don't want to come out.
Push them in first.
Right.
And you're looking at your tour guides.
There's your guys right there. These are the guys that discovered the intelligent haunting that is going on at that museum. And they're going to also take you to the Roth House, where, ladies and gentlemen, we have caught a disembodied voice of a young lady inside the house more than twice, and even more than 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, guys. And thank you for everybody that was in the chat. It's welcome. It's great to have you guys all here. And here's looking to a wild weekend, and hopefully we'll see you Wednesday on One Spirit Connect. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight. And thanks again for everybody. You guys did an awesome job tonight.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Good night.
Good night.
Yep. Good night.
Ha 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 ha.